My name is Mandy Whaley, and I live in Austin, Texas. I work for Cisco. I work in Cisco DevNet, which is our developer community of Cisco. So I do developer experience and developer evangelism across all of our Cisco technologies. And I'm here to talk about the power of dad ops for women in tech. And I'm actually really nervous, which I don't usually get nervous about talks, because I'm used to talking about APIs or how to do this thing in Python, and I don't talk about women in tech that often. So this is kind of a big step for me, and the Monktoberfest audience and some of the talks I heard last year really inspired me to kind of reach out and give this a try. So it says dad ops, but I like that hashtag. I like a lot of the stuff that people post under that, but it's really family ops, right? Of course this applies to moms, aunts, dads, uncles, family in the widest sense, neighbors, mentors, whoever, right? So just keep that in mind. Okay, so I want to talk about women in tech for a lot of reasons. I want to talk about it for my awesome peers, for the people young in career on my team that I mentor, for my company, because I really do believe diverse teams solve problems better. And I want to talk about it for these crazy kiddos. I have 2 sons and 4 nieces, and they are very top of mind with me right now. And 3 of the nieces, the 3 in the middle, they lost their mom to cancer about a year ago. So I've been doing a lot of girl momming, which is kind of new to me. So that's given me some things to think about. And this is my other niece. She's a little fireball. All right, so I do want to talk about women in tech, but every time I get ready to do it, all of these things kind of block me and I get stuck. I think it's such a big topic, it's so complicated. Where would I even start? What would I even start with? It's too close to home, a little too personal. I think I'll talk about containers instead. That'll be more fun and safer, right? Feels like a minefield. I'm probably going to unintentionally offend someone. That seems risky to me. There's so many pieces. I don't know what to do. I'm a developer. I want to solve these kinds of problems. And then what assumptions will people make about me for giving a talk about women in tech? And all these things kind of were in my mind. I was talking to my husband one night about it and giving all these reasons of kind of, why I was shying away from the subject. And he's really great at challenging me. And his comment was, well, that's pretty lazy. He was like, I think you're being pretty lazy. He's like, if you flip that around and that was some technical problem that you were going to go after and solve, none of those things would stop you. So you're just being lazy. Figure it out. And he said, he goes, you are a woman in tech. You can't avoid it. He's like, you have 2 engineering degrees. You worked as a chemical engineer and you wrote simulation software and then found your way into more app dev and software. And you've stayed there. You got a STEM degree. You went into a STEM career. You stayed with it and you've been through a bunch of different transitions. So he was right. It was so annoying. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, dang it. So I'm giving it a try. I'm going to talk about women in tech because I am a woman in tech. And, here's the disclaimer. I'm not an expert. I don't know how to solve it. I'll probably offend somebody. I'll apologize in advance. Please give me feedback. I want this to be like I'm going to try and learn and iterate on how to talk about women in tech and how to have a good conversation around it. So appreciate the feedback. I am running to the airport right after this, so Twitter me your feedback or reach out. I'm definitely happy to talk. So who's a dad or an uncle? All right, who has a daughter or a niece or a neighbor or a friend? So lots of people, right? And I find myself talking at audiences that are mostly men and lots of dads and uncles in them. So this is one reason why this topic became interesting for me. You have some special superpowers. So this was a wide-ranging study that found that 68% of girls who are interested in STEM were encouraged by their father or a male champion of some kind. That's pretty cool, right? But my question was, how? Encourage is a fuzzy word. It's very vague, right? What do you do to encourage that? What does that really mean? And so I took it and looked at my experience and thought, are there some specific things we could define encourage as? Are there some specific things that my dad did with me that I think helped me go down the STEM path and kind of find really my passion and what I love? And I thought, yes, I think there are. So that's what I'm going to talk about. The first one, so there's 5 of these. The first one is this, what I call developing an engineering mindset and learning to do this at home. And this is just the idea of that most of the things you're going to do in life, really, but especially in technology, have a, I'm going to try, I'm going to fail, I'm going to iterate, I'm going to learn. That process that we do over and over again. That there's lots of jumping into the unknown, and that's the norm. Predictable outcomes are not the norm. And people ask, should I teach my daughter Python? Should I teach her JavaScript? What's the right book? What's the right kids programming book? And I'm like, none of that matters. What matters is this problem-solving mindset that you can develop. So however you can teach that mindset is the key. School does not teach it for the most part. School is mostly predictable. Do these things, get this outcome. It actually reinforces the other pattern in a lot of ways. Schools are getting better, they're doing more open-ended things, but I still think it's really important to teach this mindset at home or in after-school programs, other places where we have room. So this is my dad. He's awesome. He's a lawyer, and then he practiced law for a while, went back to school, and went to medical school and became a doctor, and he's been a doctor for a long time. He's also a serial hobbyist, so he's had a million different interesting hobbies. Building telescopes, photography, he's really into machine shop, really into stereos and audiophile equipment, and he has patents on his speaker crossover and all these things. And so and most recently, ukuleles. He speaks at ukulele conferences. Did you know that was a thing? It is. It's actually a pretty big thing. And aged close to 70-ish, he made his ukulele website. And he made it himself, and he learned HTML. It's really weird. It's a weird-looking website, but that's okay. But he made it, and it's great, and he gets tons of traffic, and he's connected with passionate ukulele people from all over the world, so it's pretty cool. But most importantly, through doing all these hobbies, he gave me a lot of examples of learning something new, of seeing him take on a subject that I knew he did not know anything about previously, dive into it, figure it out, make a bunch of mistakes, and I got to see him do that over and over again. And that pattern really stayed with me and really informed a lot of my life. And he didn't let me just sit on the sidelines. He's like, come over here and solder this wire. Come here and let me explain this thing about this vintage car. I have to admit, a lot of times as a teenage girl, I did not want to do this. I was not that excited about it. But it was just part of our family culture, and he was really good about always bringing me into it. So even though you might meet some resistance, it's worth it. Go for it. Try to do that with the girls in your life. And this. So you're doing projects, right? And a lot of times we just want to show our kids the end result. Here's the Barbie house with the bow on top and it's all put together. You didn't show your daughter that a lot of the pieces didn't actually fit, and you had to zip tie some of them together and glue this part in and do all this weird stuff. Show the fail. Show when things are screwed up and how you backed out of it, found a new way, and got it there anyway. Stephen was actually just telling me about making a shelf for his closet, and I was like, this is the perfect example. He was like, it didn't work, the clamps, it fell apart, I smashed my finger, put it in the closet, I need to shim it, and I was like, this is the talk, right? So I know she's not old enough yet, but when she's older, show her that part of it. It's really important. And we all have, maybe not the finger, yeah, that might be it, yeah. But this, and it doesn't have to be construction-y kind of things, right? It could be installing something on your computer that, fails a lot of the way through and you have to backtrack and troubleshoot it. Or it could be cooking. My cooking is all fail. So, I would have a lot of chances just to show that. So it can be anything, right? Okay, so that was the first one. The second one is owning technology starts with the technology at home. Think about all the stuff we have in our house. Audio, visual, stereo, all the new IoT stuff, gaming. What technology in your house do the girls own? And I mean own in terms of they troubleshoot it. They fix it when it's broken. They apply the patches. They go out and figure out why it's not working. A lot of times, not that much is owned by the girls in that sense. And I put this out there as a challenge to find something that your daughter, niece, whatever person you think may be interested in this track, find some technology to actually own. So when I was in 3rd grade, I talked to my dad and I said, I want a stereo. You know, I wanted to listen to whatever I think awesome 3rd grade music I was into, like Rock Me Amadeus or Stray Cat Strut or something like that, right? Something completely awesome. And I had in my mind, like, here is a shelf system, you know, like a nice little contained shelf system stereo. And my dad was like, yes, absolutely, I'll get you a stereo. And he gave me a stack of components and a box of wires. And I was like, I don't know, what? and he said, go set it up. And I was like, really? Yep, go set it up. So I took the boxes of wires and the components back to my room, and I sat there and figured it out. And a stereo, there's not that many ways to hook it together, right? And everything's labeled pretty well, so I could figure it out. And it was kind of magical, like, because from then on, I owned that stack of stereo. I could add things to it, I could switch out wires, I could troubleshoot it. And that is with me today. Whenever I'm speaking somewhere and like the audio system's screwed up, I'm like all in the wires, like trying to figure it out and troubleshoot it, right? And I don't know why my dad did that. Maybe he was just tired that day. I don't know, but it was kind of magical for me and definitely stayed with me. So, but watch out, you may end up with sort of a lifelong stereo fascination. This is my stereo, so be careful. So we have much cooler technology in our house than just stereos now. We've got thermostats, we've got our gaming systems, locks, you know, Amazon Echo, all these cool things. Find something that your kid might be interested in or that matters to them. My son is not interested in wireless networking. Shocker, right? But he is interesting when his PlayStation can't get on the network. And so that's like a really good time when we talk about, what do? Go try to reset the router, you know, go do whatever you want to try to do to troubleshoot that. And he is appointed sysadmin for all gaming systems in our house. I'm like, that's your thing. If you want it to work, you got to get it to work, and we'll help you. But he does it for him and his little brother. And then recently he installed our new August door lock, which was pretty cool. He like went to the webpage, figured out how to install it, set up the app on everyone's phone, and he's really proud of it. And he's really into the door lock right now. Plays with it all the time. Thinks it's really neat, right? Little side note is now he's our admin for the door lock, which I probably need to change, but that's okay. But this is really important, right? Like, find those pieces that are interesting, and it's a time to learn that troubleshooting and engineering mindset, so they kind of go together. So I talked about this idea, this technology at home idea, with some people at a DevOps conference, and I got some really awesome feedback. I just love the let your daughter fix the router day. Like, I'm like, let's do that. That's awesome. And then this was a guy who, his son, it was his birthday right after the conference, he got a drum set. And he let his son like put it together himself, and then his son was super into it. So I thought that was cool. If you have similar stories, would love to hear them. Okay, next one. This one's really important. Debate with your daughter. Debate in like a fun, lively, constructive way. Find something that's not too serious, but is passionate. Like for me, my dad and I, we would debate about Scrabble, and like, is this letter really have the right point value? No, I think R should be this, S should be that, whatever. Or Star Wars versus Star Trek, or whatever Minecraft thing is interesting. Find something that's interesting and have debates. I grew up in a small Texas town, not a lot to do. So a lively family debate was pretty fun, actually. And we did quite a bit of this. And this is important because if you work in tech as a woman, you're gonna find yourself in a room as the only woman needing to stand up for your thought, your plan, your whatever it is. And this women in a meeting meme is ridiculous, but it exists. You hear it. You hear women who don't want to just say their idea in a straightforward way because they're intimidated, they're not confident, they're not used to putting it out there in a room full of all men. And I think that this is something you can practice at home, safe environment. I think my debates with my dad have served me well. People on my team might think a little too well. But anyway, I think this one's really important. Okay, next one. It's okay to break away from the pack. So this one is kind of targeted at middle school. In middle school, girls get this pack mentality. Everybody wants to do the same thing. It's real important to be part of the crew. Guys do it too, but it seems more potent with girls somehow. And at that exact same time, when that's really powerful, that's also the same time that you would need to choose to take a different math class or go to a different summer camp or do some other activities that probably maybe not all of your friends are going to do. And so having the support of your family, of your male champions, to be like, it's okay to choose different than what everyone else is choosing, is really important and makes a difference. I think this is where the encourage part of that other quote comes in. And I like this definition of encourage. To inspirit, to enhearten, to embolden, to mean to fill with courage or a strength of purpose. If your daughter is interested in STEM, fill her with that strength of purpose and help her choose to do something different, because it will be a different choice. And then this quote, this was kind of an internal mantra that I had in middle school. They're not my friends, they're just my age. I don't think I ever said it out loud to an adult, but I might have. And this was something that I used when people would say, well, why aren't you going and doing that with all of your friends? And I would think, they're not my friends, they're just my age and gender. They're not really interested in what I'm interested in. They're not really like my friends' friends. So why would I go and do that? It doesn't fit me. And that kind of internal mantra kind of helped me, so just putting it out there in case it helps anyone else. Okay, and the last part. This is the fifth one. You have to have this really important and awkward and uncomfortable talk with your daughter about calculus. This one's really important. So I just read this study, and I'm so fired up about it and trying to figure out what are the things to do. But they did a wide-ranging study of women graduating with STEM majors. And they found that women were 1.5 times more likely to switch out of the STEM major after Calculus 1. They didn't continue to Calculus 2, and that kicked them out of, computer science, engineering, all these things that require Calculus 2. And what really got me is that the reason was not because they weren't passing the class or whatever, it was a lack of mathematical confidence. That blew my mind. What is mathematical confidence? Do you need confidence to do math? Apparently, yes. I started looking into it, and this is actually a very important thing. The mathematical confidence, your confidence in your ability to do math, is this huge indicator of succeeding in math, of doing math, and continuing in math. And to me, if this is really the constraint on the system of women flowing into STEM pipeline, which it kind of looks like, I'll show you it might be, then this is something we could probably start to work on and fix. How can we get over this mathematical confidence piece? So this is this chart that they used at the beginning of the study. It shows it's kind of small, but it's number of people coming in, and over on the far side is 4th grade. 66% of girls and 68% of boys are interested in science. So pretty equal. And then as we move towards actually entering the STEM workforce, there's huge drop-offs, and then a very small percentage ends up actually entering the STEM workforce. And so this study kind of dove into that high school, early college, where that really steep drop-off is, to see if they could figure out what was happening. And they interviewed students finishing Calculus 1 who were choosing not to go on to Calculus 2. And this line I have outlined in red, look at this. This is, the wording is, I do not believe I understand the ideas. I do not believe I understand the ideas of Calculus 1 well enough to take Calculus 2. Everyone in that line passed Calculus 1. The people who didn't are the next line. Everyone passed that in the red line, and look at it. Only 14% of the guys picked that reason, and 35% of the girls picked that reason. That's crazy. That's a huge difference, and I think it's something that we can do something about. And here's what would happen if we did something about it. So the dotted line is, if we bumped that up, if we said same percentage of girls continue to Calculus 1 as guys continuing to Calculus 1, that would shift the line up to the dotted line, which would end up with entering workforce into STEM being 37% women versus the 25% it is today. That's a tremendous difference. That's at least one of the constraints, I think, on the system. So So what do we do about this? I don't know. I'm on a quest to figure out what we do about this. But there is something that my dad did, going back to my personal experience, that I think helped me with this. I didn't have this problem. I loved calculus. But there were some things that he did. Before I ever took calculus, we talked about calculus at home. And the way we talked about it was calculus is important because it's a gateway to all the majors that you are probably going to want to pursue. It may be hard, it may be not interesting, it may seem unrelated to normal life, but it's an important class and it's an important thing to make it through and continue. So I went into it already thinking that. And I think that really influenced how I approached the class. And it was, and the other part of it is a lot of girls who get into calculus, that may be the first time in college where they're kind of away from their support structure and they've made really good grades through high school and they get to calculus or whatever the first, hard STEM classes, and they start getting like an 80. And I've gone and interviewed them and they freak out. They're like, an 80, I'm terrible at this, I'm done. Like, I'm terrible, this isn't for me. And I'm thinking, and the guys are like, I got an 80, yeah! Like, I'm moving on, it's good. Not to overly generalize, but that, from the interviews that I've been doing, that's what I see. And why is that? And so I think it's a couple reasons. I think one is it's, maybe just a mindset thing. And then two, I think is, if you are in the small percentage of girls who are in one of these advanced math classes, and there's a lot of societal factors maybe kind of hinting that maybe you don't belong, or you're getting pressure that it's kind of weird to be there, then you're constantly looking for validation that you should be there. And so getting the bad grade is you might take that as a sign of, I don't belong. Yeah, everybody's right, I don't belong. Okay, I move on. And so I think just this idea that like one class, how you perform in one class, does not determine if you should continue in a STEM major. Like just getting that idea across would be really interesting. And I think sharing some stories, like who here had a hard math class that you thought, this is terrible, but I'm just gonna pass it and get through it, right? Everyone, right? But nobody knows that. So I think it would be pretty cool. Calculus, yeah. So I think sharing this story would be pretty interesting to see if that has an effect. So a friend of mine and I were starting this thing called mathisnottheproblem.com. It's like, right now it's like a forum to say, I'm interested, that's it. But we're hoping to build something up here to give a way to maybe share those stories or find people that might want to do something at like their like local college, to maybe just go talk to girls and boys that are in first semester calculus and talk about, some of these things. So I don't know, we're exploring it. If you're interested, you can just reach out to me directly or you can submit your info there. We're going to do more interesting stuff on the website. Right now it's really basic, but gets the point across. It's just a gathering point. Okay, so to sum it up, these were my 5 specific ways to encourage, to make that quote a little bit more specific. So develop a try, fail, iterate mindset at home. Help your kids own the technology at home. Do the troubleshooting. Debate. It's okay to break away from the pack and have the calculus talk. When it's time, have the calculus talk. Start early, right? I would love to hear more. I do have to jet to the airport, but you can find me on Twitter. I'm happy to give out my email address too. So thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.